we turn 18 years old, we experience at least one trauma. And this could be subtle or it could be a major catastrophic event. For me, I've had multiple events of trauma. And when I look at my parents, they've had multiple events as trauma. When I talk with my friends, when I talk with just acquaintances, when I talk with clients, there is a lot of trauma that we all experience. And how does trauma really play out in our lives? We have patterns. We get stuck in these patterns that we don't realize in our relationships or with work or our lifestyle. Animals, they have this great ability to shake off any of the trauma that they experience, and their body regulates back to its homeostasis. With us, that does not happen at all. The purpose of our evolution is to connect with the deeper part of ourselves, to process what it is and to release it. Gabor Mate was conducting a, I don't know, workshop or some kind of speaking event. And he asked the room, anyone who doesn't have any trauma, come up here. And there was a woman who said she didn't have any trauma. But when he dug deeper into her childhood, and he did it very quickly because that's his expertise, his specialty, is to get to the root of the issue. He dived in, and it turns out that she does have trauma because it plays out in patterns in her relationships. And she realized at that moment that she had that trauma. When I work with clients, we begin releasing, we tune into the body, and there's exercises or tools, if you will, to tune into the body to begin releasing those layers. If you don't release your trauma, then you are stuck with these coping mechanisms, if you will. They create blocks for you to block all kinds of good stuff that could be wanting to come in. Love, money, friendships, career, being self-actualized as a person. Some people have experienced more traumatic events than others. And our job, what I believe here on this earth, our job is to release all of that trauma, to clear so we can feel more aligned, more connected, follow our purpose, and have certain goals that align with what virtues we have, what is important to us. My parents had a lot of trauma. My mom was part of the 60 Scoop in Canada, which meant that if you have a child, then they get taken away. Right away, they're put in foster homes so that they can be taught a Western way of living, which is learning English and eliminating the culture. It's a form of genocide, indigenous genocide. With my father, he went to an Indian day school, and it was very abusive for him. So both of my parents made conscious decisions of what they wanted to do differently when they had kids, and they did that, and that worked really well. Because I've heard my mom said, I didn't get this, so I'm going to give this to you. And they did that. And there was also unconscious ways of living that they didn't realize until hindsight, until you see the symptoms and the impacts later on. What's so amazing with my parents is that when they realized all of that, they said, we would have done better. And they chose to apologize. They apologized for not knowing any better, which I felt was very empowering for them to say, hey, we're sorry. They didn't have to take that responsibility on because they didn't know any better, but they chose to do that. And I thought that was a great gift that both of my parents were able to give us. With me, my trauma, so experiencing that and growing up in my community. So my skin was a lot lighter. I stood out. I didn't blend in. I was different from everyone else. And I was bullied every day because of it. There were times where I got in fights, but it was more about the verbal abuse that I didn't belong, and no one was listening to me. Go home where you belong. And all kinds of things that were pointed out. All of what they thought of was my flaws. When I ran into someone who teased me when I was younger, I was like, "Remember when you did this and this and this?" And they're like, "No, they don't remember it," because kids are cruel and sometimes they don't remember how they've impacted another person. With all the trauma that I experienced, there were emotions that I felt at that moment, and they got trapped in the body. And there were certain belief systems that I started to believe. Because what we don't realize is when these traumas happen, we internalize a lot of the negativity. We internalize a lot of the positivity as well. But the negativity plays out in these coping mechanisms and these blocks that we have that we don't realize. So with me, it's like I wasn't safe around people. People were always judging me. I didn't measure up. I'm not good enough. I don't belong. I mean, the list was long. And I had a lot of trauma, and I was blocked. So I couldn't really receive love. I couldn't give love. If I did, it was attached to these coping mechanisms that would be dysfunctional. When I was about 30 years old, I came across an ad in a newspaper that said how to love yourself through Sandra Dawson's workshop. I was in Los Angeles at the time. I was pursuing modeling and acting for most of my life because I wanted to prove that I wasn't ugly, that I did have a purpose, I did have value, somebody cared about me. So the pressure that I internalized on myself to fix myself through that funnel of career, that was me trying to fix on the outside. So when I ran into Sandra Dawson, well, I didn't run into her, I went to her workshop. She was identifying to me that I was holding in a lot of trauma. And I couldn't see at the time, but she could. So when I chose to work with her, and I was a student at the time, I was being triggered every day of something emotionally that was impacting me. When I was being triggered, I would call her and we would have our 1 hour session. And she would tell me, "How are you feeling?" She would tell me to close my eyes. That way I can shut off any distractions from the world or being visually stimulated or worrying about what was outside of me. She told me to close my eyes so I can tune into my body and check in how I was feeling and what sensations are you feeling. So it was a two-pronged approach that we did. And I did this for 7 years. It allowed me to deeply connect with myself. That is how you begin to heal trauma. Some people say they don't want to reach in and go within because they're going to be opening up Pandora's box and they won't know how to deal with everything. But once you work with someone who is able to teach you the skills on how to be with yourself and how to calm your nervous system down to be realigned to your natural homeostasis, that is the goal. Anyone can do it. When we process emotions and we're able to do it effectively, we will feel it right away. We will feel the weight that is lifted off of us. Our energy will feel diffused, will feel open, will feel happy, will feel connected. And that's our neutral state of being, what we want to achieve. That's our natural homeostasis. So when you get triggered, you want to focus within, you want to close your eyes and ask yourself, how am I feeling? And what sensations am I experiencing in your body? And the key to it is when you do one or the other, you tune into your body and you sit with it. You sit with it and focus on it. There was a YouTube influencer that I was watching, and he was paying a lot of coaches in order to make more money. He went to go see a therapist. That was one of them. And the therapist was putting it back on them. Well, how do you feel? What do you think? And he's like, well, isn't this what I'm paying you for? No, that's not what you pay a therapist for. They're not there to process your own feelings and your thoughts. They can see it. They've done so much self analysis and so much work reflecting on themselves, trying to make sure that they stay neutral and allow themselves to be a mirror so that so they can hold a space so you can process your feelings. That's what you need to do. You need to process your feelings. And what does that entail? Closing your eyes, going within, and listening. Our bodies are talking to us all the time. Our bodies hold wisdom. We're always receiving all these ideas and thoughts. Our bodies are constantly trying to heal. And we need to give our bodies the space to facilitate all of that. We don't want to hand our power to somebody else. We don't want to repeat same patterns. There is so much. I'm trying to explain like critical how critical it is to really take the time to care for how you feel, what you think, and how to process it. For you, it's your soul. This is all encompassing your soul. It's your story, what you did about it, how you healed yourself, how you overcame it, and how you're able to be of service to the world and to other people. That's the whole point, the whole purpose of us being here on this earth. No one is going to take care of you as much as you are willing to be there for yourself. When I worked with Sandra Dawson, we did a lot of the therapy work for a cycle of 7 years. So within that 7 years, that is all I did. How do I feel? What is my body feeling? I would close my eyes and tune in, and I would be with it until it diffused. I would do all kinds of things. I would go on a walk and do it. I would do breath work. I would meditate. I would do talk therapy. Whatever helped me release all of that stuck traumatic energy. After I worked with Sandra, I was able to be there for myself. So whatever situations went on around me, I knew that no matter what, that I would be okay. So whatever situations that happened around me, whether something was triggering me or there was some kind of trauma that I had to go at another deeper layer to process, whatever happened around me, I knew that I was going to be okay because I knew the process. And that's what we all need to learn, is the process. How do we process our emotions, our thoughts, and the feelings that we have because of it? I think about when processing trauma, it's such a huge discovery, a discovery of who we can become, how we're able to evolve out of the situation. And when you're able to have self awareness and self reflection to really see that, you'll be less inclined to bite on to the circumstances around you. You will find ways to take care of yourself and make decisions that will be in support of you and your purpose in life and what you need to do in carrying all that out.